Way back in the early 2000s, a number of teachers and principals and school nurses, with myself included, we knew that we could do better in terms of how do we feed our children. Common Roots came out of a growing concern that our children had access to high industrial foods versus fresh local foods as part of their experience in education.
The industrialization of the food process has extracted out most of the nutrient, or the food is coming from so far away that the nutrient gets stale in the process.
Without that proper nutrition, without eating those proper 3 meals a day, what does that do to your brain as a kid? And you're always feeling just a little sluggish, a little behind. That's something that doesn't go away, and that's something that you can't teach out of somebody.
There's a growing body of evidence that children's behavior is related to how they're fueled for their learning and for their living.
When you start to incorporate those meals back into your life, it's almost like, wow, what's going on? I feel so much better. My grades are improving.
When children have healthy foods to select, there's no issue. They are eating well, they feel better, and they can tell you that for themselves.
You know, anytime we can get people closer to the land, learning where their food comes from, it really keeps us grounded. It can be a challenge, but with the right support, with education and the mission of Common Roots, I think it can really help our community and also the state of Vermont.
For our work over a decade now, none of our funding is on tax dollars. And lots of people think that Farm to School is funded by schools, but around the state that is challenged. And the budgets for food education actually have not shown to be existing. So what we're doing is we are helping people see that it's the individuals, the businesses, and the foundations that have been the hallmark of our ability to build this momentum.
A lot of our farmers are aging out. You know, I think the average age of farmers is probably around 55, 60. And if we don't have farmers out there learning these skills and bringing new people into the industry, I think we're going to have trouble with food security. So I think this is an opportunity to have a great career in agriculture, but they need help and they need skills. And I think Common Roots with this education program would be very helpful for that.
We're going to have to reinvent the farming economy in the future to be able to go from, we once had 60% of people working on farms, now we have 1%, maybe 1.5%.
Anything we can do to advance education for people, particularly that may not have an ag background, is really, really important for the development and the ag economy in Vermont. But I see an opportunity. A lot of young people are really in tune with the environment and the land and the landscape. So I see it as an opportunity for Common Roots to fill that void of ag education.
Taking the approach of educating people, giving them that agency is crucial. It's proving to them they have the options to feed themselves in a way that is cooperative with the community.
I'm introducing an opportunity for them to discover out of their own senses their relationship. Texture, taste, smell, deep observation, listening quality that they develop. And that is a very personal set of skills that is developed.
I heard about Common Roots from so many other students taking internships with them. I fell in love. I loved teaching. I loved the cooking. I loved volunteering and then going to the food shelf. I loved meeting people in my own community that I really wasn't that connected to until I joined this program.
What excites me about children is they become empowered, they become the educators, they become the messengers, and they carry our mission forward.
There's been a resurgence of people wanting to know where their food comes from, how it's grown, how the land is treated. And I think this is an example with Common Roots of potentially the future that could be replicated outside of this particular area.
What Common Roots has done in South Burlington, we're probably going to need to have happen all over Vermont, all over the country, in terms of reestablishing capacity to grow food, to process food, to distribute food on a local basis.
These landscapes provide almost 300 acres where people are not using chemicals.
Growing up, I would have loved to have a kind of program like this in my schools. I always loved cooking. I love eating. That's a big reason I got into UVM as a food systems student. I really wanted to learn more about how food is grown, made, and gets on people's plates.
What's happening at Common Roots, what's happening at the Intervale, what happened at Shelburne Farms is really reinventing the potential for us to feed ourselves on a local basis.
We discovered during the pandemic that it's probably not best to have a national food system. It broke down through supply chains, and certain areas couldn't operate, and we saw some bare shelves even in Vermont. If we build a robust local food system or a regional food system, I think that can be really valuable.
Now is the moment. We know the climate shift is upon us. We know that the soils are being dispersed and growing weak as we speak. But the programs at Common Roots, our mission and our message can help us move into the future and turn around this cycle of extraction into one of nurturance and sharing with equity for all.
So the question we ask ourselves in Common Roots, and that we ask you to ask, is what stand will we take to actually build curriculum and programs that teach our children to nourish themselves and to understand where healthy food comes from? It's up to us. It's on our backs. The bigger question then perhaps is, what happens if we don't do this?